Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. Today, we're going to talk about Bitcoin and the battle for 30K. If you guys like the content, please subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up. Also, check out the Telegram channel, which you can find a link to in the description below. Let's go ahead and jump in. So, this $30,000 level for Bitcoin is a pretty important level. We've been holding it more or less for the last few weeks. If we go and look at, say, an hourly time frame, if we were to draw a line at around the $30,000 mark, it's more or less around this point right here. And this level has been more or less our local bottoms every time we come down and test it. Of course, we have, very briefly gone below it. However, this $30,000 level seems to be what has been holding us up for an extended period of time. Now, if you look at this, on one hand, the lows seem to be more or less the same. However, we have been trending down. And this is something that we need to keep in mind. If we were to extend this out, and again, yes, there's certain probabilities of these things breaking out one way or the other, but if we were to extend this out and just kind of see where things are over the last month or so, even if the price of Bitcoin were to come back up to, say, 34,000, maybe even above it, 35,000 or so, we would probably look back at it and say, well, it could still just theoretically be trending back down. The nice thing about each of these moves back up to the upside, every time we get them, I don't know if we're about to get one or not, but every time we get one, it seems like the dominance of Bitcoin continues to fall. And it's because the dominance is continuing to fall, which is very exciting for the rest of the market, because other coins like Ethereum are continuing to show strength. A lot of the other coins that we follow on the channel are able to show strength whenever Bitcoin comes back and rallies for a little bit. Now, this could all change if Bitcoin were to start dumping really quickly below $30,000. In fact, the first time I shouldn't say the first time, on January 22nd, when we broke through 30K, if you were watching what was going on, Ethereum at that time started to look weak because some people were speculating that we were about to go much lower. Now, where we currently are, we're currently around 30,746. So we have been flirting with that $30,000 level for the last few hours. If we're able to hold 30K, and in the short term, come back up, then a lot of altcoins likely stand to do well. Okay? Obviously, if Bitcoin's moving up, then Bitcoin is doing well in the short term. But the implications for the rest of the market is a lot of the other coins in the rest of the market would likely do well. However, the counter argument is, well, there is no free lunch and you are taking on risk, right? When we watched this earlier, when Bitcoin was dropping, Ethereum was able to bounce back a little bit stronger. So you have to account for the risk involved. This is why I would say, 30K is a fairly important level. We've been going slightly below it. Right now, we're slightly above it, but we just keep flip-flopping around the $30,000 level every few days. Now, if we were to extend this out and just kind of see where it would ultimately converge down to around 30K, it could still be several weeks away, potentially. So we have to keep that in mind, that we could theoretically be range-bound here for several more weeks. And if that were the case, it probably would be a good thing for the rest of the market, because even though Bitcoin has been trending down, it's still well above the fair value. According to, say, quote-unquote non-bubble data, it's still well above our bull market support band. Our bull market support band, the bottom on it, is all the way down at around 20.5K or so, and it ranges up to 22.6K, 22.7K. That's the 20-week SMA and the 21-week EMA. So we're still well a ways from that area. And because we're so far away from that area, you can see how every time Bitcoin gives a little back and starts pushing back up, the rest of the altcoin, the altcoin community, the altcoins start to move a little bit, because people are thinking, okay, well, if Bitcoin is going to continue this little game where it's not putting in new highs, but it's more or less just trending sideways and slowly bleeding, which we've always contended that a slow bleed by Bitcoin is good for altcoins. Of course, on any specific hour, if Bitcoin is dropping quickly, a lot of altcoins will have knee-jerk reactions, We've said this all along. However, as long as Bitcoin stabilizes without completely dumping back down, then these altcoins can continue to rally. This is exactly why Ethereum has rallied from around $700 up to over $1,400 in January. And yes, Ethereum was around $700, a little over $700 earlier in January. If maybe you forgot, it has come a long way. And despite the fact that Ethereum has been rallying about almost 2x from 700 up to 1400, right now it's at 1260, Bitcoin has been slowly bleeding over the last several weeks. So for Bitcoin, I would say $30,000 is a pretty critical level for it to hold. If it doesn't, I know there's a lot of people that have been throwing other numbers around out there. Personally, I think throwing random numbers out is a little bit of a dangerous thing when it comes to predicting where Bitcoin could bottom. In another way, obviously we have this trend where we can maybe look sideways and say, okay, it's trending down to this. Another potential way to look at it, just so we look at every facet of it, and we're not like trying to potentially show something specific that might not actually be true. You could also maybe look at the price like this. I mean, this is certainly a possibility. It ultimately depends on how you draw it, right? And if you were to go to say 4-hour time frames, you might get a slightly different picture. So the point is to say, pretending like any specific number has to be the bottom because it's a nice round number or not is not necessarily that useful. You can see earlier on the 21st, we actually went below $29,000. So $29,000 wasn't even the bottom, according to this chart. We actually had a wick below $29,000 already, and that's well below 30,000. From around 28.7 up to around 30K. That was another $1,200-$1,300 drop that we had after getting to the $1,300 or the $30,000 mark. So from here, I think there's obviously two narratives. One is that we are trending sideways and down, and ultimately holding this as support each time. And a lot of people are essentially waiting to see, well, what's going to happen? Are we going to break out and continue our run, and this will just be a short consolidation period? Or will it ultimately trend down and head towards, say, the 20-week moving average, right? And this is one of those things where even if it went down to this level, it's not necessarily the end of the bull market. It just means we would want Bitcoin to hold the line to maintain the integrity of the bull market. So as we navigate this market cycle, we'll be here every step of the way. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and give the video a thumbs up. Also check out the Telegram channel, which you can find a link to in the description below. Do you think 30,000 will hold? I'm curious to know what you guys think. If you look at, say, monthly candles, it's a pretty interesting trend. If we zoom in here, let's remove all this and zoom in. So this is the monthly candle, a pretty interesting candle. If you look at weekly candles, we have been trending down so far, right? We've had several weeks in a row where we have been trending down. And again, momentum is one of those things that it's hard to bet on when it's going to change. But each week, the top of the candle is getting lower each week so far, and we're in our third week. Okay, so if this trend were to simply continue, and again, we're not saying that it would, but if this trend were to simply continue and we kept going down at approximately this rate, then it's not like it would take us, substantially much longer to definitively break below 30K. So in order for us to not break below 30K, we need to have a momentum shift in the market within the next week or two. Otherwise, if we don't have a momentum shift in the market and this downward momentum just simply continues, then it certainly will not take long to get below 30K. So it's the risk you take, right? It's the risk you take on a lot of coins. Bitcoin at 30K, it's still relatively risky, right? We don't want to pretend like it's not. It's a relatively risky time to be buying Bitcoin when it's still up 3x from say the beginning of October. It's still up 3x despite the fact that we've had a 30% correction. And for all those people that said, in the comments, and you know who you are, that were telling me that, the days of 30% corrections are over and that we're only ever going to have 5 or 10% corrections. Bitcoin had something to say about that, all the way back down 31% at the bottom. Right now, it's down approximately 26% from the top. So remember, just because institutions are coming in does not preclude Bitcoin from having strong corrections. In fact, a lot of institutions that people want to come in to, for this to be the general narrative of this cycle, is that a lot of institutions are coming in. It's going to take time, right? I mean, if an institution wants to buy Bitcoin, it's not like they can just say, all right, just go throw 100 million in Bitcoin. There's a long process to that. So I agree this cycle is going to be made up of a lot of institutions buying Bitcoin. However, it's going to take a while for more and more institutions to come on board. So always be prepared for the potential downside, even in a bull market. If you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe. Let's go for 103,000 subscribers. Why not? Remember, we have the premium list at intothecryptoverse.com. That'll wrap it up. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.